I want you to show me how to do the thumbs up. I looked and looked, I couldn't find it because I wanted to hit thumbs up for Nurse Flipper last night. What are you laughing about?
Laughing at you. I'm not laughing at you, I'm laughing with you. That was a really funny laugh. Welcome to Over the Years. My name is Tim, and I love vintage items. I hunt for treasures and bring you the ultimate prizes of antiques, collectibles, and vintage decor. Join me, my dukes, my girlfriend Josie, and other guests as we search for history. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Over the Years. I'm your host, Tim. I'm a full-time reseller on 6 platforms. That's eBay, Etsy, Makari, Poshmark, Depop, and Grailed. And welcome back to the channel. Don't forget to hit that thumbs up at the beginning of the video. And if you don't hit it in the beginning of the video, hit it at the end of the video. Today, we are going to be going over everything that's sold across all of the platforms from March 1st till March 8th. So we had some big hitting items. Hope you guys are ready to jump in. I'll give you guys a little bit of information about the items as I go over them. So hopefully it'll help you on your next trip out looking for treasures. Let's get down to business. First item up is going to be this vintage imperial glass candlewick butter dish. I picked this up at the shed, my honey hole. So I was about $2.50 into it. Some candlewick pieces can be worth a lot of money. Others, the value has gone down tremendously over the years. This one actually had a little bit of damage on it, which I didn't see when I picked it up because when I go to this place, you have to be quick and you don't really have time to look at stuff. You just got to grab it and go.
Hope for the best.
Hope for the best, my Duke says in the background. So this sold for $13.99 plus shipping. Next up, this is another really beautiful dish that I picked up at the honey hole at the shed, so it was only a couple of bucks into it. This was a antique Flow Blue Mulberry Bridgewood and Son. Ida was the name of the pattern, and it was a covered soap dish, and it sold for $55 plus shipping. Definitely Flow Blue is another thing you guys always want to look out for. I'll put a link up top to a live that we once did on Flow Blue if you guys want some more information on what Flow Blue is, and hopefully you can find some out in the wild. Next up, we got some Vaseline glass, some Show Your Glow. This is a antique EAPG Central Glassworks circa 1885, so a proper antique, well over 100 years old. Canary yellow Vaseline glass. It was a inverted thumbprint was the name of the pattern, and it was roped up around the rim of this, and it sold for $54.99 plus shipping. Next up, we got a nice hat. I picked this up at the thrift store recently, and it sold within minutes of listing. This was a vintage 90s Pittsburgh Pirates spell-out snapback hat. So it had pirates across the back of the hat, and it sold for $29.99 plus shipping. And this is another item that sold within a couple of hours. I picked this up at the thrift store the same day as the hat, and this was a vintage G.I. Joe 442nd Infantry Soldier Hasbro 1998 new in the box, and it sold for $30 plus shipping. That one cost me $7, I think I paid, that was before the 25% off, so a nice little pickup. This is another item that sold within a day. I picked this up at the thrift store. This is an NBA Street Volume 2 PlayStation 2. It was in great condition. This is a game that you definitely should be on the lookout for. I've sold it a bunch of times. It's an easy, quick sell. And that sold for $23.99 plus shipping. Next up, this is an awesome antique lamp that Josie and I picked up on an antique road trip a long time ago. And it finally sold, and it was a pain in the butt to ship, but I got it done. It was an antique opaline Vaseline glass large lamp, hand painted. So those flowers you see on the lamp, those were hand painted, and it sold for $100 plus shipping. I'll put a link up top for that antique road trip Josie and I took. It was a lot of fun. It's a great video for you guys to watch. This item I picked up, this one sold within 24 hours. I got this at an antique mall, which is, I guess, kind of funny since it is a vintage 1991 Yo MTV Raps factory sealed trading card box. It was sold for $69.99 plus shipping. Great buy, quick flip. This is definitely something you guys want to be on the lookout for. This particular box has increased in value dramatically recently, so definitely a cool pickup. The next item that sold on eBay was a 2002 Callaway Big Bertha 9-iron golf club, right-handed graphite shaft. This sold for $23.99 plus shipping. I picked this up at the thrift store for $3.99. This was a big ticket item. So this was, if you guys haven't seen that vintage NASCAR t-shirt haul video I put out, you guys can catch that. I'll put a link up top. This was the jacket that made me go get that haul. I sold pretty much everything from that haul. Maybe I have like 4 or 5 t-shirts left. But this jacket, vintage 1990s Dale Earnhardt Brooks & Dunn white satin jacket, made in the USA, size large, sold for $175 plus shipping. So that was a definite huge pickup. I couldn't find this jacket and comp it anywhere, so I had it priced pretty high for a while, and then I kind of knocked it down, and then I made a deal with a guy for $175. I was $12 into it, so at that point I was just ready to get rid of it. Next up was another video game that I sold. I picked this up at the thrift store with the other video game. This was sealed. I always pick up any video games that are still factory sealed because it does have value pretty much no matter what the game is. And this game sold for $30 plus shipping. It was Medal of Honor Airborne, Microsoft's Xbox 360 game. Brand new, sealed, good to go. Next up was a softball glove. I picked this up at the thrift store as well. This is a Louisville Slugger softball glove. It was a right-handed one. It was in fabulous condition, and the buyer bought it for $14.99 plus shipping.
It's said low battery, and I've hit close.
Oh, so it's still recording.
Yeah, you're good.
My Duke's over here at me. I thought it was going to say storage full.
No.
That's what you got. Yeah, keep your eye out for that storage full.
I know, that's what I thought it was.
All right. Next up was this vintage 90s Florida State University trucker hat. It was a snapback. This was in fabulous condition, and it sold for $29.99 plus shipping. Definitely always keep your eye out for these vintage college or pro team snapbacks. It was a really nice hat. It got $29.99 plus shipping. Next up, this was another really big ticket item. So I picked this up for $10 at the antique mall when I was on my snowboarding trip with my fiance Josie, and I bought this at the antique mall for $10. It just really stood out to me. It was an antique Princeton University vase or planter. Once again, this is an item I could not find any comps on, and I sold it for $103 plus shipping. Next up, this is another big ticket item. This was a t-shirt. This is a vintage 1979 Coming Attractions Nick Nicholson t-shirt, single stitch. Very hard to come by. I got this on a pick with the boys, Cernock, Tommy, Ronnie Hart, and I went to Mr. Buys a Lot. And this t-shirt sold for $99 plus shipping. Next up is a vintage Hall China Cobalt Blue Aladdin teapot. This teapot was unique because it was exclusively made for Ming Tea Company. And this teapot sold for $64.99 plus shipping. I always love the Hall stuff. We're a big fan. If you guys haven't realized that by now from watching some of our older videos. Next up was a pair of candlesticks. This is vintage Royal Gulowagen Williamsburg Restoration Delft Blue candlesticks. Interesting part about this was that I had started to pack these candlesticks and noticed a little bit of damage that wasn't included in the description. So I messaged the buyer, gave them a couple options. They said, you know, they would take a little bit of a discount and just go ahead and ship them. So it all worked out. The buyer, after it says $25 here, but I think I gave them an $8 refund. So it was $17 plus shipping. Next up was some football cards. This was a 2020 Panini Mosaic White Prism JJ Watt, which was numbered 20 of 25. And then I threw in 7 other cards with it. And the buyer bought that for $34.99 with free shipping. And we have another football card. This was a 2020 Panini Certified Leonard Fournette Certified Gamers. This was a jersey, relic jersey. It was numbered 2 out of 10. And the buyer bought this for $17.49 plus shipping. Another item that I picked up recently, I got this at an antique mall for $2.50. It was a vintage Land O'Lakes mug. And anything that has the old logo from Land O'Lakes will definitely fetch some good coin these days. So I bought this for $2.50 and it sold for $20 plus shipping. Next up on eBay, another football card. This was a 2020 Panini Donruss Tyrann Mathieu purple. So it was a purple parallel and it was numbered 42 out of 75. And this sold for $9 plus shipping. And the big ticket item of eBay during this time was this vintage 1952 Topps Look and See Babe Ruth, and this card sold for $200 plus shipping. It was a great sale. I was contemplating sending this card in for grading, but I decided to just go ahead and sell it raw, and I got $200 for it, and I am happy with that sale. And the last item that sold on eBay from March 1st to March 8th was this vintage 1990s Los Angeles Rams snapback hat. It was a sports specialty with the script spell out. You always want to keep your eye out for these sort of spell out hats, and then sports specialty hats in general also do really well. And this hat sold for $59.99 plus shipping. And now we are going to jump into what sold on Etsy. So, first item that sold on Etsy during this time period will be this vintage Jeanette thumbprint gold trim depression glass pitcher. And the buyer was all in for this item for a grand total of $34.20. That I've had that for a very, very, very long time. Few of these sales on Etsy are stuff that I've had for a while, so it's always good to see them go out the door. This was a vintage quick pickin' and fun strummin' home guitar course. That sounds pretty awesome. Welcome to vintage quick pickin' and fun strummin' home guitar course. I'm your guitar teacher, the Beard. It's like, no. Anyways, so this had like music books, you know, sheet music books, and some vinyls in there as well. This I had sitting in a box of like sheet music, so I just saw it and I was like, let me just list this, and it finally sold. The buyer was all in for $36.20. Next up is this Stangl pitcher. Stangl used to be extremely popular in the 90s, and the value of it has just gone down drastically. So there's only certain pieces of Stangl that I'll pick up at this point in time. I've had this sitting around for a while, and I believe it was actually in my clearance section on Etsy, and the buyer was all in for the Orchard Song Pattern Stangl pitcher for a grand total of $26.26. Next up on Etsy was this really awesome uranium glass piece. So it was a vintage uranium glass etched roses. So it had etched roses around the rim of the compote, and had some gold trim on there as well as also on the base. And it had some fading on the gold, but besides that, it was in great condition. The buyer has received this item and left a interesting, very nice feedback. Said, item exactly as described, super fast shipping. I really appreciated the Fort Knox-like packing. USPS had really tossed it around. I thought it might have been broken, but it was in perfect condition. Very happy with this purchase. If you guys aren't familiar, I do have a couple of nice shipping tip videos. I will put those shipping tip videos up top for you. There's 2 different ones, so go ahead and check out both if you would like. The buyer was all in on this item for $67.51. The next item that sold on Etsy was this vintage Royal Dalton Porthos miniature character jug. Character and jug are always 2 words, really hard to say back to back like that. But the buyer was all in on this Royal Dalton miniature character jug. Boom, got it. For a grand total of $23.09. Next up is another item I've had for a very long time. It was 2 amber glass ashtrays. One was a larger circle ashtray, and then there was a small square one. I comboed those 2 ashtrays up together, and the buyer was all in on those ashtrays for $38.17. Retro ashtrays usually do fairly well. Not sure why this one took so long to sell. I guess you kind of had to find the right buyer. Like now, I would have just sold these separately. But this was a listing I listed a very long time ago, so I'm assuming that's probably why it took so long to sell. The next item that sold on Etsy, vintage t-shirt. Definitely, you can sell these sort of things on Etsy. I've sold clothes and hats on Etsy before. This was a vintage Dale Earnhardt single stitch Black Magic Top Gun shirt. Made in the USA. It was an awesome shirt, and the buyer was all in on this t-shirt for $106.19. Next up, we had a vintage green glass Eagle liquor bottle decanter. This was just kind of a low-cost item, and just didn't really have too much value, but I thought it was a cool decor piece, and the buyer was all in on that item for $18.16. Next up, we have another big ticket item. This was a vintage uranium glass water pitcher set. So it had the pitcher and 5 glasses. Now, I wasn't 100% sure if they were matching, but they looked close enough. And obviously, I explained that in the description of the listing. But I picked this up I got really super lucky at my honey hole, and I grabbed this whole set for $5. And the buyer was all in on this item for a grand total of $134.14. It was an awesome set, really gorgeous. Next up on Etsy was this vintage Melita coffee pot, powder blue, made in Germany, Art Deco, mid-century modern. This was a gorgeous teapot. My Dukes, this is one of those, so some of the stuff, my Dukes would be like, so you know, I just want to hold this and look at it until it sells.
Yeah.
So my Dukes had this one chilling in her cabinet for a while, and it finally sold. I could tell this is kind of an old picture because it's sitting on the doily.
Yeah.
My Dukes
I like it.
Yeah, what? Like what? The doily?
Yeah, the look of it.
The look of the pot on the doily?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Weekend decorator.
Weekend decorator. So this teapot sold for a grand total. The buyer was all in for $46.78. The next item that sold during this time period on Etsy was this vintage Jeanette Cube Pink Depression Glass Sugar and Creamer. Another item that didn't really have much value. It had been sitting around for a long time. It was in my clearance section of my Etsy store. But the buyer was all in for the pair for $27.33. Don't forget that these Etsy orders are the grand total will include the shipping costs as well, as I'm sure you guys can see on the screen. So that's everything that's sold on Etsy. Now we're going to go ahead and dip our toes into the world of Poshmark. So this was a Harley Davidson and Chevrolet Corvette patch vest. It was actually made by some company called Grand Circle Cruise Line or something like that. And but it was cool. It was like this really nice sort of blue, and it had the 2 patches on there. And that sold for $20 on Poshmark. Now we're going to dip our toes into the world of Grailed. So now you're starting to see some more sales on these platforms because I've been taking time to go through these clothes and get them listed. So this was a Harley Davidson. It had the eagle on the front. There was some cracking to the graphic, but it was a single stitch made in the USA, and it sold for $25 on Grailed. Next up, was a vintage Stanford, California t-shirt with that sort of 90s vibe on the coloring. Had the vintage jerseys tag, and that sold for $25 on Grailed. So now it's time to take a trip over to Makari. These are the items that sold on Makari from March 1st to March 8th. This is a Super Bowl program. So I had a lot of Super Bowl programs. This guy had messaged me and said, look, I just want this one. Can you split it from the lot? And typically I don't do that, but this guy really wanted this program. And I figured it didn't do too much harm. So I separated it from the lot from him, and this Super Bowl program sold for $35. Next up, this was a vintage The Rock WWE or WWF Rock t-shirt. I picked this up on my snowboard ski trip with my fiance Josie in Pennsylvania. Got it at a thrift store for $4, and it sold so fast that I couldn't even take it off the photograph board before it had already sold, and it sold for $60 on Mercari. Another item that sold that really fast was this Patagonia fleece gray quarter zip. It was new. It didn't have the tags, but it still had the sizing sticker on the front of it, and it sold in less than 24 hours for $50. So that was a nice pickup too. This vintage polo Ralph Lauren crewneck sweatshirt is an interesting story. So my descriptions are very detailed. It tells you the sizes of the arms, the chest, the length. It says to make sure you in capitals, caps, all caps. It tells you to reference the measurements before buying, because vintage clothes can range in size and measurements comparative to what you might be wearing of modern day clothing. Then this whole, I use like 1,000 characters in my description. And so the gentleman bought this sweatshirt and then sent me a message and was like, I'm going to return this sweatshirt. There's no way this is a large. And we're going back and forth. I'm explaining to him that the measurements were in the description. In a Makari, you can't return an article of clothing because it doesn't fit, as long as the description is good. And so my description matched up, and I guess this buyer realized that. And so he rated me. And on Makari, when somebody rates you, you can't see the rating until you rate them. So I was like debating back and forth. I was like, there's no way this guy is going to leave me a good rating. And I had a perfect record on Makari, like 150 5-star reviews, nothing else. And so I was like debating, what do I do? What kind of rating do I leave this person? So, I thought it was fair. I knew he was going to give me a bad rating, so I gave him a bad rating. He gave me a hard time. So I left him a 2-star rating. I said, buyer had issue with sizing of shirt, even though measurements were clearly in the description. And he did leave me he left me a 3-star review saying that the seller needs to work on item description, which
Makari agreed with.
Yeah, it was, there's nothing they can do. You can't alter them. Makari can't alter them. So it's not like Makari agreed with them. That's just their.
But I thought their tip to you was do a better description.
But that's because the what he said.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, anyways, it sold for $40 plus shipping. This polo was vintage, made in the USA, so it was a really cool sweatshirt. And
He needs to lose weight.
my Duke says he needs to lose weight. All right. So, ladies and gentlemen, that's going to wrap it up. That is everything that sold from March 1st to March 8th across all of the platforms that we sell on. Don't forget to hit that thumbs up and watch some of our more recent videos. And don't forget, we also do live vintage sales every Monday night at 8:00 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And I think that's going to be everything. We'll see you guys soon with another video. Thank you guys. As always, we appreciate the love and the support. YouTube, stay classy. Peace.